Okay, good evening everybody, good evening online, and good evening to anybody who's watching this later on. Um, my name is David Donoghue, and this is just an information session that we're going to have. If you've got any further queries from this or in general, you'll have our contact details there. You can get us at support@accountancyschool.ie is the main is our email address. There's a telephone number, our website, and you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Now, the ACCA contact details as well, okay, if you're registering for the first time, you need to get in contact with ACCA. They always want us to make sure that you have the contact details available. So the ACCA contact details are available are available there on that slide, okay? Okay, just a quick introduction to who we are for anybody who hasn't been with us before. Accountancyschool.ie, we're an ACCA Platinum approved college. We're also a CIMA approved college. There's only maybe 15 platinum approved colleges in the world. So then it's the highest award that ACCA give. So, and if you are studying, whenever you are going to study, just try and make sure that it's a platinum approved college. It's the ACCA guarantee that the place you're going to has met the necessary standards. We have students who are placed regularly first in Ireland, but we've had a number of people who were also first, second, or third in the world. We had a lady there, a guy in the exam just gone by, Ian Levine, who came fourth in the world in AAA, Advanced Audit and Assurance. And we had a guy who came second in the world in Strategic Business Leadership about 2 or 3 sittings ago. We have a very, very strong team of lecturers on both ACCA and CIMA. Now, the agenda, what I'm going to look at over the day, well, it's not going to be a day now, okay, over the session. We'll just have a quick look at the structure of the exams since September 2018. I mentioned the progression rules, the time limits that are on everybody who's doing ACCA. There's some consideration about the best order to sit the ACCA exams in. We look at opportunities and things to consider as far as the 4 sittings per year are concerned. I mentioned some points about the option papers that you have to sit at Strategic Professional, and just some ideas on what you should consider to try and pick the one that would suit you best. I'll talk briefly about the Ethics and Professional Skills module, which everybody should try and do before you move into the Strategic Professional exams. I'll mention a little bit about online courses, just a few things just to be mindful of if you are going to take an online course. Mention the computer-based exams, and then we'll take some questions towards the end. I am going to record each of these as separate recordings, so if you are looking at this online or recordings at a later stage, you'll be able to dig out the recording that you want to have a look at. Okay, all right. So we'll start with the progression rules. Now, we'll start. Sorry, have a look at the ACCA qualification first of all. Sorry. The ACCA qualification, it's made up of 2 pillars really, but ACCA put it forward as 3. There's the formation papers, which I think you're at, which is starts at the applied knowledge, and then there's also the applied skills. Now they're a little bit clearer laid out there on that slide. The applied knowledge papers, or the accountant in business, management accounting, and financial accounting. The main advice there, I suppose, is that if you're starting with those papers, to make sure that you do financial accounting before management accounting, because you will find that there are some issues that are addressed in management accounting which would require you to have a very basic, very simple understanding of financial accounting. It's not necessary, as you've seen, but it is helpful to do the financial accounting before the management accounting. Okay, so if you are going to start with 2 papers maybe for December, the 2 to start with will be the accountant in business and financial accounting. And then for the next sitting, if you were going to take 2 for June 2020, you would take management accounting and corporate and business law. Okay, I mentioned about the 4 sittings per annum and things to consider on that when we get onto it there in a moment. Okay, the progression rules. Now, the progression rules are pretty straightforward, that with the applied level, the applied skills and the applied knowledge at the first 9 exams, there's no time limit. The clock doesn't start ticking until you go on to the strategic professional exams. Now, that's not an excuse like to be kind of taking it too handy and what have you, but in the past, the clock started ticking as soon as you sat your first exam, but that's no longer the case. So there's no major time pressure as you're going through the applied skills and the applied knowledge papers. The time levels kick in when you get into strategic professional. And on the strategic, the only rule that's there now with the new syllabus is that you have 7 years to pass the exams at the strategic professional level, which is a long period of time in fairness to it, because there's now 4 sittings per year, so there's 28 sittings. So no, it shouldn't be totally dismissed, because you might take a career break, or you might have to stop studying for 2 or 3 years or whatever, and through all that time the clock will continue to tick. So it's just to be conscious. There is a 7-year rule. There used to be a 10-year rule in the past, which you still might hear people talk about from time to time, but since 2016 it's just this 7-year rule now. So it's from when it's 7-year rule starts, the last point there, when a student passes his or her first strategic professional level exam. Okay, so that's the only time limit that's there as far as ACCA are concerned. Okay, so that's the progression rules. Then there's what is the best order to sit the exams in. Now I'll keep this on this recording as well. Okay, so the best order to sit the exams in. Now I've mentioned with the applied knowledge, okay, where you've got the accounting, the business, the management accounting, the financial accounting, and what to consider with those. All right. When you get into the applied skills level, which is from the old F5, the old performance management on, you have to make a decision as to whether you're going to sit maybe 2 exams in June, 2 exams in December, or are you going to sit 1 exam 4 times a year? And that's very much a personal call. The normal recommendation for ACCA exams, especially when you're working, is to attempt to be sitting 4 exams per annum. You might end off doing 5 maybe. Rarely you might end off doing 6 per annum, but most people will go with 4 exams per annum. And that's either 2 in June, 2 in December, or else 1 in March, 1 in June, 1 in September, and 1 in December. So you might do 1 in March, 2 in June, 1 in September, 1 in December, or whatever. It's totally up to yourself. Okay, but you need a plan as to how you're going to go about sitting the exams and how you're going to utilize the 4 sittings per annum. If you're sitting 2 exams per year, 2 exams per sitting, you need to give some consideration as to what subjects you marry together. So the normal recommendation when you get into the applied skills is that you take corporate, the law paper, and tax, and you take the 2 of those together. They work well together. One is a theory paper, one is the tax paper, is very numerical, and there's a lot of detail in the tax. The law paper is probably the easiest of the applied skills paper, with all due respect to it. Okay, you'd marry performance management and financial management together, because they're of a similar type of ilk, and your brain is working in a particular area. They work well together. And then you'd put the audit and assurance paper, the AA, and the financial reporting together, because some of the accounting standards you'll cover on financial reporting, you'll also use in audit and assurance. So it's useful to put the 2 of those together. Okay, so if you're only doing 1 exam per sitting, it doesn't really matter what order you sit them in. You can sit them in any order you want. You may as well just do them in the order that they're laid out there on the slide. It's as useful as anything else. But there's no papers you must do in advance of other papers. The only exception to that is the audit and assurance. You must do financial accounting, the F3 paper, before you do audit and assurance. Now again, to stress, that's financial accounting, not financial reporting. The accounting standards that are examined in audit and assurance are the financial accounting standards, not the financial reporting accounting standards. It's useful to do financial reporting and audit and assurance together, because of course you'll go over the accounting standards again that you've covered at financial accounting, so they'll be fresh in your head going into the audit and assurance exam. So most people will do FR, the financial reporting, before audit and assurance, just to revise the accounting standards as much as anything else. Okay, all right. So that's the best level or the best order to consider if you're looking at the applied skills. When you get into the strategic professional, the general guidance there is that, well, the rule, first of all, I suppose, is that when you move into the strategic professional, i.e. the final column, you must have either passed or sat all of the applied papers, the applied knowledge and the applied skills. You don't necessarily have to have passed them, but you must be sitting or must have sat them. So what that means is that if you've got, let's say, financial management left, the last of the just go back there a little bit to to the papers. So let's say the last one there under applied skills is financial management. So let's say you've just got financial management, or maybe financial reporting, or whatever paper you have left at the end, and you want to sit two papers at some stage. You can't sit financial management and one of the strategic professional papers in the one sitting, because you will then be sitting financial management when you are taking on your strategic professional paper. So the rule is you must have attempted or be attempting the last of your applied skills. But if you've got financial management left, you can't go on and do one of the strategic professionals without attempting the financial management. Okay, so that's the only rule that's there as far as moving from applied skills into the strategic professional. Now, when you get into strategic professional, what order should you sit those in? And the best advice, if you're coming in fresh to strategic professional, the first one you should sit is the strategic business leader, the SBL, because some of these information and the knowledge you get on SBL, you'll use in the other papers, in particular the option papers. Now, until about 2 sittings ago, the advice was to stay away from SBL. And the reason that advice was there was because all of these exams are new since September 2016, and SBL was a brand new paper, so we didn't have any past exam papers. So therefore, from September 2016 through 2017 and 2018, the advice was to stay away from SBL because there was a shortage of past exam papers, but now there's plenty of them. There's 4 papers in 2018, there's 4 papers in 2017, so there's 8 or 10 papers now at this stage. And it is a useful paper to start off with. It's a long paper, it's 4 hours, but it's kind of driven by theory, and some of the skills you learn there, you'll use elsewhere. So when you come into strategic professional, if you're just starting at that stage, SBL is a useful one to start with, what we call SBL, Strategic Business Leader. Now, on the other hand, if you have finished with your applied skills, and the last paper you sit on the applied skills is, let's say, financial reporting, well, now in that case, it makes sense to start with SBR, Strategic Business Reporting, because that's the next accounting paper. And the accounting knowledge will be fresh in your head. So therefore, to go from financial reporting into strategic business reporting would make perfect sense. So in a lot of instances, the main consideration as to what paper you'd sit first would be what did you finish up with in the applied skills. And you should be aiming to try and finish up with the financial reporting. So therefore, leave the audit and assurance and financial reporting combination until the end of your applied skills study, and then maybe start then with strategic business reporting when you move into the strategic professional. All right, but try and make sure you have SBL done before you take the options. Okay, so that's you can, I suppose I should say that with the strategic professional papers, you can sit them in any order that you want. With the options in general, there are 4 options. You have to do 2. Okay, so you've only got to do 2 of those options there. Some people pick the options before the strategic professional, before the essentials. So the strategic professional is broken into 2 essentials, 4 options. You must do 2 of them. You should try and make it your business to do the essentials before you take on the options. ACCA give you a choice, so when you come into the strategic professional, you could start with, for example, the APM, the Advanced Performance Management. But you'll be able to, there's no doubt, it's since September 2016, we're definitely seeing that it is an advantage. It does help students big time to have the essentials, in particular SBL, complete before you go on to the option papers. Okay. Now, the other small thing to be conscious of when you're looking at your strategic professional papers, remembering that you can sit them in any order that you want. You can start a strategic professional with whatever you want, but you should be conscious of the second last point there, that you have to do SBR before you take on Advanced Audit and Assurance. So if one of your option papers is going to be Advanced Audit and Assurance, you must have taken SBR first, because in Advanced Audit and Assurance there's a lot of accounting. Sorry. There's a lot of accounting, and the accounting standards that are examined are the SBR accounting standards, the strategic business reporting. Okay, and then likewise with the last point there are some of the topics and models that are covered in SBL that you see in APM, Advanced Performance Management. So it's another reason for doing the SBL in particular before you take on the APM paper. Okay. All right, so they're the things to consider as far as a strategy is concerned. Like when you're starting in your ACCA studies, if you're at the applied skills level or the applied knowledge level, you obviously your plan just really generally needs to deal with those early papers at first. But you will at some stage have to consider, how am I going to deal with the strategic professionals? Okay. All right, so